Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Powerful Man Show. I am your host, Doug Holt, with my co-host, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews. What's going down, brother?
Yeah, I'm doing very well. You?
I'm doing well also. Just transitioning from daddy mode to rock and roll down here to record this podcast episode with you.
Yeah, nice. I'm transitioning from daddy mode too. I've got two dogs here. One of them has an infection in his legs. I'm having to keep him close by with some frozen blueberries so that he doesn't lick it, make it worse. And then I've got another one which is a little bit she's a little bit irate. She's a little bit unpredictable. So if you hear barking in the background, it's her.
Got it. Well, speaking of that, this might be helpful. Let's talk about today. The topic I want to talk about is 8 ways to gain back your masculinity or to get into your masculinity. And I'm not saying you're out of yours, but 8 ways that you could actually do it. Now, I want to preface this a little bit. This is part of what I'm going to be actually talking to the guys in the Brotherhood. The Brotherhood is our 25K mastermind group that guys have for a year. So guys that are in there are very committed. And one of the things we're going through is an advanced sexual mastery module for them. And that's part of this is what we're talking about. It's a polarization. And Tim, what you and I and the rest of the team have seen over the years, the many years, is oftentimes what throws guys off track is this idea of polarization or depolarization, or the flipping of the poles, right? Masculine, feminine. And men become more feminine, right, in the relationship. And the women takes on more masculine roles. So what I want to talk today about, Tim, are 8 ways that the guys, the listeners, can do today, 8 things they could do, and 8 ways they can get back into their masculinity. So I'll kick it off. I'll throw them out there and we'll start them off, and then we can just discuss each one as we go through it. So number 1, physical activity. Now, sounds like an obvious one, of course.
I was thinking.
Yep, physical activity, and in particular, if you want to raise your testosterone, you have heavy weight training, especially compound movements. But within that physicality, it's pushing yourself to the edge or past your edge. That's really what it is. Whether you're doing it with sports still, maybe it's running, maybe it's yoga, you're really getting into it and you're pushing yourself beyond your normal boundaries. You're getting that physicality that comes there. And oftentimes we'll talk to the guys, and a lot of the guys are ex-athletes, played either at university or maybe some of them played professionally. And so what they're used to doing is banging against each other, pushing themselves, pushing the edge. And they've lost it along the way. And for most of us guys, it's really getting into that physical state of pushing yourself that allows us to get back into the actual physicality of the world.
Yeah, for sure. I 100% agree. I was thinking then, if you don't have physicality in your life, right, I think it's very easy as guys, once you come out of that phase of either being in college or university, you're shrinking down, Doug. You look like you just lost
just moving my desk. It's the advantage of having a nice office setup.
So yeah, I mean, I think it's very easy with stages of life for guys to fall into the trap of just letting that side of themselves go, right? Even if they go to the gym, a lot of them, kind of just do it as, well, I say a lot. It's easy to fall into the trap of it just being another thing to do, right? Now, obviously, we both used to be personal trainers in my early to mid 20s. And I used to train guys who were typically kind of at our stage now, really. Guys in their mid to late 30s, mid to late 40s kind of thing, who were business guys, right? And a lot of them had come to me rather, when they were out of shape. They'd put on a load of weight and they were either had ill health, or they had lost a sex drive or lost a confidence or whatever it was. I'm trying to recover something. They'd always tell me the story of, I used to be in such great shape. I used to be so active, but then I got into business. And it's just kind of like an accepted phenomenon, if you will, that, okay, well, I go into business and that comes first. And the way I've got to provide is financially, which we all know doesn't work because women want to be provided for emotionally first anyway. And that sets them on that path, right? And then they let go of things and they go into the 5 agonies and so on. So yeah, I think it can be a very easy thing to do just because it's the norm in society for the most part anyway. It's the given. But at the same time, it's super important to have that physical element of not just going to the gym and going on the cross trainer, which you could still find your edge a bit on there, but it's different when you really start to push yourself against something. Like you start squatting a heavy weight and you're pushing your edge there, or you're doing sprints and you're pushing your edge there. It's just different than other certain forms of it. But yeah, I think it's a great point for sure.
Yeah. So, and the key here again, guys, is pushing past your edge. So as Tim said, it's not just going to the gym, going through the motions. It's pushing it, right? Whether you're competing at the CrossFit, whether you're trail running really hard, it doesn't matter what the activity is. It's just that you're pushing it. Number two kind of goes with number one, but that is really getting out of your head and into your body. Now, there's other ways of doing it. There's somatic practices, banging on your chest, different things that you can do. And it's the haka that they do.
Yeah. New Zealand
rugby team. Yeah. It's the same idea. You're getting into your body, right? You're getting to that spiritual, that physicality in there. Not necessarily pushing past your edge. It's really just getting into your body. And when you're in your body, you're in the masculine, right? You're out of the feminine. You're in the masculine. And so number two, if you want to get more into your masculinity, is get into your body. Now, movement obviously is an easy way of doing it. Hitting yourself, you see guys before fights, what do they do? A lot of times they'll start slapping their faces. They're getting into the edge, right, of where they want to be. But you can also get into your body with breath work, right, and doing things of that nature. Obviously there's different ways to get into your body, and different things are going to appeal to different men. But what do you want to do? There's different edges of masculinity, in my opinion, as well. But what area do you want to focus in?
But wouldn't maybe some people listening to this argue that physicality is getting into the body?
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, this ties in with number one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with physicality. I think you're too busy eating your blueberries over there.
First meal of the day. It's half full. Long fast.
So in going through that, it's really just getting into the body itself and getting through there. So number one could be number two, but they could also be separate. That's why I broke these out into different patterns here. Number three, getting primal, right? And getting primal can be thought of in a lot of ways, right? Getting primal could be primal screams. It could be playing sport again is a primal activity. But really, this is about also surrounding yourself with other men, other primal men. And this is one of the reason that, here in the States, it's football Sundays, right? Guys watch sports, they get together. It's the guys' day to get together and watch American football. They do that a lot. But you can also have a pack of men, right? Here, you guys listening to this right now are part of a pack. Now, whether you're actually active in the Powerful Man or not, that's up to you. But you have the ability to do so. And so being with your pack is a real fundamental way to be primal and surrounding yourself with other men and getting in there. So that's the easiest way and probably the best way to get primal. If you get primal with other guys, that masculinity starts to, again, carry over. This is why concerts, right? Mosh pits, these things are all primal energy where men are getting together and getting primal. It feeds on each other, right? It kind of, they stack. And it's a quick and easy way to get great results.
What was coming to mind for me then was define primal. Breath work for me often leads to a very primal experience because I allow the breath work intensive. We put on for the guys in the Brotherhood. Week 5 of that, when they start to include movement and noises and everything else, is very primal, right? I know you said breath work could be one. Because, what comes to mind for me as well when you talk about football Sundays for the US, right? The thing that I don't like about that when I think about the UK version of that, if you will, because obviously, people still go watch sports and stuff over here, right?
What?
Yeah, what? Believe it or not. But it often involves a ton of alcohol.
Well, yeah. It was this here in the States too, buddy. Yeah.
But that then wouldn't be a prime. Would you then still class that as a primal experience?
Sure, absolutely. I don't think it has to be that way, but I think a lot of guys do that to get into their body, right? One of the reasons that alcohol allows you to do is get out of your head and into your body. And that's one of the reasons a lot of business leaders drink, right? After work. They want to get this done, get the head out. They don't have a meditative or closing practice, so they go to alcohol. It's an easy, quick way. But it still can be primal. It's right. The guys getting together. When I say primal, it doesn't mean going to the pub and fighting though. Fighting the guys on the other team or starting a fight. It's really getting with a solid group of guys. Now, there's, I think, healthy ways to be primal. Guys in the brotherhood, right? Guys that are in their activation method groups. They're doing it. They're getting primal with other men in an extremely constructive and positive way. They're growing with each other and they're supporting each other to become better men, right? There's no drugs or alcohol, whether on their calls, right? They're not doing things, getting drunk just to relate to each other. They're actually pushing through those boundaries and those areas of fear to become better men. And that becomes their pack, right? So everybody you can choose your own adventure. The interesting thing, Tim, when you bring this up, is it takes just as much energy to go get drunk with your friends and get into a primal state, which you'll feel like crap the next day, right? And you won't really have a lot of the after effects, right? Because it actually lowers your testosterone, et cetera, et cetera. It takes just as much energy to do that as it does to get together with other guys, other men, powerful men who are doing something to better themselves, which will last for probably a lifetime.
Yeah, I love that.
Cool. Number 4, right, is getting focused. Right? Getting focused on what you're doing and bringing things to completion, right? How often do a lot of guys start a project, drop it, start another project, drop it, right? That also signals to your woman that you're not to be trusted, right? Out of integrity. You're not finishing the projects you're working on. Transparently, if you're watching this on video, my wife and I just bought a new house. It's got a gigantic, a whole story, basically, that I'm redoing, and I'm working on the project. And Tim, was interesting. We had a bunch of couples coming over. When you have kids, right, you just have couples with their kids come over. And my mom was my wife was walking them through the house and was going through, and all the women commented on how their husbands have started projects in their homes and haven't finished them, and how amazing this downstairs is looking, right? Because it's, obviously it's not to completion, but the point is they all made a comment on it, right? And so we talk about masculine and feminine energies and what have you. What I got out of that is all the women noticed that their husbands haven't finished projects. And it wasn't that they cared about the projects, because they probably didn't. They just noticed that they weren't getting finished. They noticed they weren't being brought to completion and they're not being focused on. The same could be said for your work. Same could be said for your time with kids. I'm going to put my phone down at the dinner table, and then you're not doing that, right? You're answering your phone. You're answering text messages. You're looking at Facebook. You're watching the presidential debates here in the US or whatever it may be. But you're not staying focused and you're not bringing things to completion.
It's interesting. The story that came to mind as you were sharing that is Amelia, because her dad was very hands-on and did a lot of DIY when she was younger. And we've just not lived in a place which really required me to do anything in a lot of respects. We rented somewhere and moved around, lived abroad, all that kind of stuff, right? So we never made a place our own. So hence never needing a toolkit per se. But for her, she's often had little jabs at me at times with this, which is interesting. I can see it. I know what's going on, right? And it's just, I'm just not willing to put my focus there, because I'm not going to just create something, because my focus has been on building something else and bringing something else to completion, right? But now, as we're now buying the house that we're getting, which is going to require a lot of work, she was shocked the other day, because she said, "So what are you going to do with some of this free time that you've got on an evening?" I said, "Well, once we get the house, I'll be in there and I'll be doing a lot of work on it." She's like, "What?" I'm like, "Well, I'm going to be in there doing work on the house because, I want to do it." And she was just completely like blown away by it, because all this time don't want to say her story, but it's kind of been her little jab at me, has just been around this, kind of a little bit DIY to a degree, because she can't really see the project of the powerful man coming to completion, right? It's more the tangible stuff within the house. So I totally agree with you. It's I don't think they care a great deal what the project is per se, but they just want to see it and know it's going to be brought to completion. So, like you said, you're a man of your word. Right? They can rely and trust on you, whatever it is you say you're going to do.
Yeah, it's huge, and it can be in all areas. But just even if you're not with a partner right now, just for yourself to get back in your masculine energy. Masculine energy drives things home, right? It's a leader, it's the alpha. They drive things, they lead. Um, but getting into a fun one, number 5, what you could do to get back in your masculinity is sexercise, right? Getting into your body, having sex, doing sexual exercises. So I'm going to go over one exercise here that I got from Kim Anami, who's pretty famous for this. And I believe she got it from a Taoist master whose name escapes me at the moment. It'll come to me as soon as it'll come to me in a little bit. But this one is testicular massage. Okay. So, set your beliefs. You can pause this, write this down, or go through it. But what you're going to do with this exercise to get back into your masculinity, to really own yourself, right? This is kind of getting back in your body. But what you're going to do is you're going to roll your testicles between your thumbs and your forefingers. And you do this 36 times in each direction. Now, 36 is just a number that the Taoists really like. So 37 is fine, in my opinion, 38, what have you. But 36 is the number. And then when you're doing it, you're going to rest and breathe in between sides. And you're going to breathe. You're going to do a special breathing that is talked about a lot. It's where you're going to be inhaling through the belly down into the pelvis and groin area, exhaling up the spine and back out and down the front. And so, you really want to look at where your energy is flowing during this rest time. And so when you're done doing your 36 both ways, you're going to lightly pull, stretch, kind of a massage of the testicles afterwards. So that's one exercise of testicular massage. The recommendation is to do that every day for 30 days at least, right? And try that out. Just see how it feels for you. Try it for 7 if you don't believe me on that one. But that's number 5, is really getting back into the body and doing a little sexercise. There's a lot of exercises you can do with that. We went over 4 or 5 in the sexual mastery course. And let's just say some of the guys are getting amazing results out of that. Number 6, being in nature, right? Probably no surprise here either for you, Tim, is being in nature and how that gets you into such a primal state coming through. Something that I do every single day. My house that we bought, the one we're just talking about, I'm backed up on 2 sides, Tim, to the national forest where I could literally walk for days. Right. And so I'm out there without seeing hardly anybody out. It's absolutely great. What I love to do when I'm out there is I get on trees. I try to get primal with it, or I'll do trail running. And when I'm trail running, I'll be jumping off things. Imagine the worst version. If you ever seen the Office version of parkour, they do a little skit on YouTube. It's hilarious if you haven't seen it for parkour. But that's probably what I look like out there, right? You got this middle-aged man running out there, jumping off bushes, over bushes, up in trees that are falling down. I don't yell parkour, but I might as well. But I'm having fun with it, right? I'm getting primal in that nature. I'm looking around. And in fact, I did a Facebook Live. And while I was doing the Facebook Live, and it was right near my house, 3 coyotes came running out, right? Not at me, but by me. And it was kind of cool, right? Talk about getting primal in there. You have 3 small, they're coyotes, so they're probably the size of your dogs, Tim, maybe a little bit bigger. But they're out there hunting, and they're out there being primal, and they're threatened by me. Just had that primal energy in there. There's a bear that came by last week. So you're getting really primal in there and getting out in nature. Now, you don't have to go to extremes, as I tend to do with my adventures.
No.
But you could just go to the park, depending on where you live, and just get yourself out in nature. Or what you do is doing a cold ice plunge, right? Or what you call dipping, going in there and getting into the water out in nature.
Yep.
It's something you do, which is awesome. But that's another way to get back into your masculinity, guys.
Yeah, I'm just all my little goodies have arrived. I'm going next Thursday. Got it all planned out. Everyone's kind of depressed because it's getting autumn here. It's rainy. It's cold, and I'm like, yes, dipping. It's funny. It's amazing how your mindset shifts, right? Amelia last night came in and said, "Oh, did you realize I found some lakes on Mars?" I'm like, "Let's go dipping on Mars." It's like the first thing I think of when I think about cold water. But it is, you're in the water, and it's this embodiment. You feel your body just come alive, and you sat there with it. And when you stop resisting the water, there's this amazing oneness that occurs between you and the elements. And it's in that place. It's kind of a spiritual experience. It's incredible. And then afterwards, you just feel so invigorated and alive. Yeah, it is. It's super primal. Super primal.
Love it. So 6 is being in nature. 7 is polarizing your relationship, right? And what that is really allowing your partner to get into her feminine while you get into your masculine. This allows you to be, it sounds kind of weird, right? Like, okay, we're talking about getting into my masculine, but polarizing the relationship allows you to be in your masculine more often. It allows you to slip in there and really feel that masculine energy coming through. And that's just incredibly important. And some of the ways you guys can do that is when you come home, take charge, right? Take charge. Say, hey, we're going on a date night tomorrow. Here, I want you to put on a sundress, or, we're coming into autumn or fall. I want you to wear this, and that's it. That's all I'm telling you. And for that date night, you can just completely take charge, right? You pick the restaurant, you pick the activities, maybe you even order food, right? And you say, here's what we'll have. We're going to have Pinot Noir. We're going to pair that with a wild caught salmon. Both of us are going to have it. She's going to have the asparagus. I'm going to have the potatoes, whatever. I'm making this up on the fly. But you get the idea. You take complete charge of the situation and you repolarize the relationship. Her slipping in and relaxing into her femininity is going to allow you to further relax into your masculinity.
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of guys say once they've been leading all day, the last thing I'm going to do is come home and lead. But then they kind of complain about there being no intimacy and no sex. And it's because there's no polarity. I mean, by default, if you're doing steps 1 to 6, you're going to be in a great place to have polarity anyway. You coming home and leading is just something that you're naturally going to do because it's who you are, because you're doing all these other things as well. You won't have to try and lead. You just will be leading. I think what you say about the date night is a great one, because that's probably an extra effort that you'd have to go to, even if you're doing steps 1 through 6. Just setting some time aside to actually plan it and think of it. But yeah, it's definitely important.
Yeah, definitely important as well. Last but not least is take on the challenge. Now, what I mean by this is, and I think it was the book Sperm Wars. I can't remember the author. It's a doctor who wrote it. But what he observed was in any relationship, the woman will challenge the man, often physically, getting in a space or what have you. Now, if the man backs down, he has lost the challenge. She then must take on a more masculine role. Thus, he takes on a more feminine role, right? Or they go at it. So this happens all the time. And your woman and Tim, you're shaking your head. Your woman's going to challenge you over and over. And it's her job, right? A lot of times it's playful, challenging. When you have a true masculine and feminine relationship, she's going to playfully challenge you. But what she's trying to see is, can you hold all of me? When I'm crying, can you stand strong? When I'm laughing, when I'm making fun of you, when I'm making fun of me, when I'm sad, when I'm wild, when I'm crazy, can you take on the challenge? And she's going to challenge you guys, right? And sometimes she might bump into you, push you, whatever it is, but she's going to challenge. And if you can stand in that storm, she will slip more into her femininity, knowing that you're powerful, and you can go back and really one up your level of masculinity.
Storm's a great word for it.
Yeah. Storm is a great word for it. And it comes from all different angles. I can tell you that. And every guy here can. So guys, there's 8 ways. There's a lot more, of course, but there's 8 things you can do to slip more into your masculinity. So if you found yourself being demasculated, right? Society has demasculated a lot of men, right? It's just the way it, be a good boy, don't say anything, take the back seat. When you get home from work, you got to do the dishes, you got to vacuum, you got to clean, you got to, it's hard for a guy to know what his role is. And in The Powerful Man, we have a lot of examples that we talk about of what a modern day man is. But one thing you want to do is make sure you're in your masculinity, and you're going to be in your femininity from time to time, right? It's an ebb and flow. You're not always this masculine alpha male. Your femininity could be your yoga practice, or it could be your business aspects of that. But you want to be able to have that masculine energy most of the time. And certainly the ability to tap into it whenever you want to. And these are 8 things you guys can do now. I'd love to hear which ones you guys take on. In fact, if you have other ones, I'd love to hear those as well in the Facebook group. Just search Facebook, The Powerful Man, if you're not already in the group. It is a group for business leaders. So just go ahead, apply to get in, and one of the advisors will go ahead and let you in there. Tim, anything else you want to add on these 8?
I think the biggest one is take on the challenge. And I don't necessarily just mean with the woman in your life. I think all of this is going to stretch you, right? That's by nature part of being in your masculine, bringing things to completion, leaning on your edge, pushing past your edge. All these things are going to challenge you, and it is going to take effort. At the same time, rather than it taking effort, imagine this kind of like an investment in your future, right? We've spoken before about hypergamy. We've spoken before about, the idea of you being a stock. Is your stock rising or falling? Because at the end of the day, the more that you choose to invest into your masculinity, consciously and intentionally, the more that you are going to reap the rewards of it. It's going to be you, obviously the people around you as well. But ultimately, wherever you go in the world, wherever you are in your life, you are going to reap the rewards of this. So, yes, it might feel a bit uncomfortable at first. It might feel like an effort. Fumble your way through it, just like anything new. Fumble your way through it. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to trip. You're going to fall. It's all okay. Just be on the journey and take the challenge, because it's certainly worth it. If you're anything like the guys we work with, then, average is just not something that you are willing to entertain. So I love being in this challenge. I'm in it every day. I don't think the moment I stop being in it is, God, that's not going to be a good place to be. I never want to stop being in the challenge. Some days it's easier, some days it's harder, but just be in the conversation, be in the challenge, because it's certainly worth it.
Absolutely. All right, gentlemen, like I said, I'd love to hear what you guys have as you step into the challenge of your life. And as always, go over to thepowerfulman.com/bonus, grab a bonus training while you have the time, and then put it into action, right? Make sure you're taking action. Don't just listen to these. We hear from so many of you that are making leaps and bounds in your relationships, in your business, in your personal life, simply by putting these things into action. And we want that for you. This is a movement of men, and you're in that movement. All right, gentlemen, until next time, we'll see you on The Powerful Man Show.